Here are three things every older adult needs to know about nutrition. Welcome to the Geriatric Dietitian, your go-to resource for nutrition that supports health, independence, and confidence in aging. I'm your host, Katie Dodd, registered dietitian and geriatric nutrition expert. Let's dive in. So for today's episode, I don't have notes. I am going completely off the cuff. And what I was challenging myself to do is to share my top three pieces of nutrition advice that I have for older adults. And I'm not going to lie, this was really hard to do. I have a freebie, I'll drop the link below with like 10 nutrition tips for older adults, and even funneling down to 10 was hard. But I've been thinking about it and thinking about it. And if there are three things that I want every older adult and or caregiver and family member of older adults to know about nutrition with aging, it's going to be these three things. So I'm going to share the three things, and then I'm going to dive a little bit deeper on why I'm so passionate about these things. So I'll just say what they are, and then I'll kind of dive deeper. Number one, protect your muscle at all costs. Number two, eat foods that you enjoy and supplement as necessary. And number three, advocate for your health. And when you can, seek a referral to a registered dietitian. Let's stop off with number one. So protect your muscle at all costs. I feel like this has kind of been my rally cry with the geriatric dietitian. The work that I did working for the Department of Veteran Affairs for years working in home care with older adults, I became very, very passionate about many things, but one of the most consistent things was stopping unintended weight loss, stopping the loss of muscle, preventing malnutrition, because it has such an important role in maintaining health as we age. Now, I'm not going to dive too much into the science here, but just know that as we age, we experience something called sarcopenia. This is a natural loss of muscle with age. And this isn't really surprising to see. Think of someone getting out of the military and they're in their, or getting out of boot camp, maybe 18, 19 years old. They're really buff, they're really strong. And then we see someone who's in their 80s and 90s, and usually there's a lot less muscle mass. This is something that happens with age. It happens to all of us. But one of the things that we have to be very aware of is the fact that we need muscle to do everything. When we wake up in the morning, we get out of bed, we go brush our teeth, we get dressed, we make ourselves a meal. Every single thing that we are doing requires muscle. And it's not until you lose that muscle that you realize, oh no, this is something I never even thought about. I almost took for granted my entire life the ability to use my body, to use my muscles, and to be independent. So the reason muscle mass is so important is it helps you to maintain independence. It helps to minimize the risk of falls. We know that with aging, older adults are more susceptible to falls, and if you have less muscle, less balance, less strength, you're more likely to fall. If you fall, you're more likely to go to the hospital. If you go to the hospital, you're more likely to lose some more weight, lose some more muscle, go into a nursing home, rinse and repeat, and it becomes that cycle where health just continues to down spiral. And then oftentimes it hits the point where you're not able to be independent and take care of yourself, and you have to go live in a facility or hire a caregiver to help you with your activities of daily living, is what we call them, just the things that you need to do to help yourself. So how do we protect our muscle at all costs? So from the lens of a dietitian, there's a few things that we do, and it's not just related to food. It's food and moving your body. But one thing that I always recommend is monitoring weight. And I'm not talking monitoring weight to, like, oh, my weight's too heavy, I have to lose weight. I mean monitoring weight to make sure that you are not losing weight unintentionally. When we lose weight unintentionally, we're not getting enough calories to maintain what our bodies need. We lose weight, but especially if it's not intended and we're not being so intentional to preserve our muscle mass, we are losing muscle. So monitoring weight to catch unintended weight loss is huge. And if we catch unintended weight loss, then we need to do some interventions right away to make sure that we are getting enough calories and doing what we need to do to stop unintended weight loss and protect muscle health. I did a whole other video all about why unintended weight loss is such a big deal. So monitor your weight, but then also make sure that you are eating enough protein throughout the day, So making sure you get good sources, breakfast, lunch, dinner, eating good sources of protein throughout the day, and doing exercises to work your muscles. Now, I'm always going to give a plug to talk to your healthcare team, work with the professional because, everyone's situation is completely different. But we know one of the best things we could do for muscle health is to get enough protein and calories and use our muscles. So my video just got cut off. I was on a roll and apparently I ran out of memory on my computer. I think I made it to point number 3 before I realized I wasn't recording. And we're just going to keep rolling instead of editing or redoing. I'm just going to keep going. I was wrapping up the first tip that I really have for older adults about the importance of protecting your muscle and how we do that through getting enough protein throughout the day, doing resistance exercise, which could look like lifting weights or resistance bands, and that plug for talking to your healthcare team to make sure you're creating a plan that is best for you and your individual situation. So that is number 1, protect your muscle at all costs. Now let's talk about number 2. Number 2 is eat foods that you enjoy and supplement as needed. So let me kind of back up and explain where I'm coming from this angle. We live in a culture that is very obsessed with dieting, restrictive food practices, and what we call orthorexia, which is just a focus on eating healthy to a point that it really becomes an eating disorder. So one of the things that I often do as a geriatric dietitian is advocate for diet liberalization in older adults. What does that mean? That means instead of putting older adults on super restrictive diets where, you're eating foods with no flavor, we're being so restrictive, we liberalize diets and help you to enjoy foods. There's a couple of reasons behind this. Number 1, you are an older adult. You have lived so much of your life, you deserve to enjoy food. Food is more than just nutrition. Of course it is, but it's also social. It's enjoyment, and you deserve to enjoy food. But also, if we get so restrictive in a diet that you just don't even enjoy the food, you don't eat the food, food time is like miserable, then what's going to happen? We're going to loop back to issue number 1, not eating, losing weight, losing muscle. So in some ways, number 2, it has to do with preserving muscle mass, but it also has to do with you just really enjoying the life that you have left and not getting on such restrictive diets to prevent potential medical complications that could potentially happen 20 years from now. And then instead you lose weight, you lose muscle, you go in the hospital, you break a hip, and well, shoot, now we're dealing with a whole other issue. So I hope this makes sense on why I'm saying enjoy food. I want you to enjoy food, and as a dietitian, I am a huge fan of eating a variety of foods from all the different food groups because the different food groups have different nutrients, and I want you to get a whole variety of nutrients for your body. But if there is a food group that you are not eating, you recognize, you know what, I'm not getting enough of this nutrient, that's where supplementation can come in because I still want you to have a balanced diet. So do your best to eat a good variety of foods. Make sure you're eating foods that you enjoy. And if there's a situation where, you just are missing nutrients, that's really where I recommend supplementation. Again, I'm always food first, but for older adults, there are situations where supplements are completely appropriate. So let's talk about my third and final tip, and that is to advocate for your health and seek a referral to a registered dietitian if you're able to. Now, obviously, this channel is the Geriatric Dietitian. I am a registered dietitian, and I truly believe that everyone would benefit from working with an individual registered dietitian who knows you, who knows your situation, who knows your case, and can give you the best information for you. But I also know most people have never seen a registered dietitian. Or maybe you think a dietitian, because the word diet's in it, like, oh, they're just for weight loss. No, we are not. But there's so many things we do. But one of the big reasons that people don't get to see a registered dietitian is because reimbursement is so limited on what they will cover. Looking for Medicare, it pretty much covers like diabetes and chronic kidney disease. And it really only covers to the point of like, okay, now that you're sick, now a dietitian can come help you. Instead of maybe preemptively, you could see a dietitian and not get to that point. But there are other healthcare insurances out there that do cover dietitian services, but it really varies and can be very limited. So I want to encourage you to consider the fact that you do not need insurance to see a dietitian. Now, I feel like this is kind of like a very strange thought for many of us because we think like, no, I only go to a provider who accepts my insurance and I pay my copay and my deductibles, and this is how it works. But there are plenty of healthcare professionals out there, dietitians and all the other professions, who are private pay, where you can pay that dietitian to be seen, to get the care that you need, and you don't have to go through insurance and all of the loops that insurance often has you jump through. So let me back up to advocating for your healthcare because I kind of dove right into like, see a dietitian. Your insurance doesn't cover it. That's okay. Go see one on your own. It will be so worth it because we're talking quality of life. We're talking about making the most of the years that you have left. And, every dietitian who's private pay charges different, right? But it's going to be so worth it. And it's not like, you have to see them forever. It's like, let's get in, let's get our situation addressed, let's get things all, tuned up, and then you can, be discharged. Let's talk a little bit more about advocating for your health and what I mean by that. Now, everyone has had different experiences with the healthcare system, right? Maybe you've had amazing providers, maybe providers who are like, oh my gosh, they don't listen to me. They are disregarding my symptoms. Instead of talking about nutrition and things that you can do to prevent issues, it's more like, here's a pill, come back in 6 months. And it can be really easy to feel disregarded by the healthcare system. So, my final tip is advocating for your health. If something doesn't feel right, advocate, speak up. And again, asking for a referral to a registered dietitian is really going to help because then you can get individualized care specific to your needs. And while I know that if you go see like a doctor, they can talk to you about nutrition, the amount of nutrition education they received in school was so minimal. Where a registered dietitian, they've got a bachelor's degree, and honestly, over half of dietitians have master's degrees. It's actually now a requirement to become a dietitian. You have to get a master's, a dietetic internship with 1,200 hours, passing a very extensive exam, and maintaining continuing education, all related to nutrition. Registered dietitians are the nutrition expert, and they can help older adults so much when it comes to their nutrition. So those are my 3 tips of the things of like, okay, if I want older adults to know anything about nutrition, what are the top 3 things I want them to know? And that is to protect your muscle at all costs, eat foods that you enjoy and supplement as needed, and advocate for your health care and seek a referral to a registered dietitian. So thank you so much for listening to this video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe. I'm putting out content on a weekly basis. If you have questions, comments, anything, just feel free to put them below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.